I got offered this like really big producer deal with one of Lady Gaga's old producers. They like call a meeting and they're like, I don't think the world is ready for a trans artist yet. And they handed me back my contract. A year later, I wrote Daughter.
Daughter, 3.4 million Spotify streams.
I recorded that song in a garage for like $50. I had no idea that it would amount to anything, you know, and that like one song that took me 10 minutes to write has now like it's gotten me so many opportunities. Getting people out to shows is like probably the hardest thing we do as musicians, and I think it's the most valuable thing we do. There's something super beneficial to humanity from doing group singing. And like as musicians, we can do that and make the show church, you know?
129,000 Instagram followers. Are there some things that you would attribute that to?
Honestly, I think a lot of it has to do with collaborating with other people. Oh, you're in the same genre as me, like I gotta stay away from you. When really like, no, y'all should be friends. Y'all should be making music together, because then like both your followings like, you know, go up because of each other. American Idol approached me. It was like one of the worst phone calls.
This is They're Good at That Shit, where I talk to musicians who are killing the game, figure out what they're doing, and maybe we can get some tips, you know what I'm saying, learn something. It's all about helping each other out. So my guest today has millions of streams on Spotify, millions of views on YouTube, 129,000 Instagram followers, Ryan Cassata. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Broadway.
Yeah, of course, anytime. All right, so let's start with Instagram. 129,000 Instagram followers. Is there something, or are there some things that you would attribute that to specifically? I mean, number one, of course, having dope music. You're a dope musician.
Thank you.
But I think there's a lot of dope musicians who don't have that following. So what would you kind of attribute that to, do you think?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with collaborating with other people. I think that, you know, you appear on more profiles and it just like creates a heightened sense like that you exist, right? So that's like one thing. Plus it's like, it's super fun to collaborate with other people. I also think like getting in press has helped me a lot. Like I noticed a boost when I've gotten in Billboard and things like that. So that definitely helps too. And I think when what also helps is when people, probably this is what helps the most, is when people share my posts. And that happens, I notice that happens more when I say something that's like personal, but people relate to it. So they share it. So like they want to know us as artists. They don't want to just like hear the music and try to interpret it. They want to also know like more about like what goes on in like the day-to-day life, like what are we thinking about, all that type of stuff. So getting like more personal and like deeper is I think helps.
That was actually something that I was going to bring up with you, because I feel like you're not afraid to be vulnerable. You know, and I think that's like important. You're not afraid to talk about what's going on, and, you know, whether it be your journey or whether it be health issues or whatever it is, you're not afraid to open up about that stuff. And I think that can hold artists back sometimes, is just being afraid, well, what if people think this, or what if people think that? And I feel like you don't really care what people think, you know, in a way, you know?
Yeah, so I mean, sometimes people get like a little crazy on there, and you know, they have their opinions and they want to fight, and there's just people that just want to fight, you know. So like those people, they could get on my nerves sometimes, but I try not to let it get to me. But sometimes, yeah, it does.
Yeah, that's another thing I was going to ask you about too, is like the hate comments, because I feel like anybody with 100,000 followers is going to get some hate. So how do you deal with the haters?
Yeah, recently, like, I had one video. It was actually from November. So I posted this video in November. It has, like, 250,000 views right now. And it's because I played a song that I wrote about being transgender in a church. And all these, like, conservative Christians somehow, like, found the video and started sharing it. So I had to like turn off my comments and everything, because it was just getting like out of control. And For me, I'm like, okay, it's like I'm okay with that. It doesn't like affect me that much anymore. But some of my followers were getting triggered, so I don't want
Mm,
that to happen. Like I need to. It's like, okay, now there's like 129,000 people that like I somehow have to protect and have
mm,
responsibility over on my
mm,
page, you know?
mhm, mhm,
So like monitoring that type of stuff is actually is pretty important.
mhm. Yeah, I didn't necessarily even think about that aspect of it because, yeah, you have all these people that are looking to you for inspiration. And then when all these haters come in, that's affecting them too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I didn't even necessarily think about that. Talk more about the vulnerability. Was that something, was it hard for you to open up at first, or is that something that just kind of came natural, or what? Talk about that, I guess, that journey to being fully vulnerable on social media.
Yeah. I think honestly that's like the first thing that I did. When I was 13, I started making a YouTube channel, and that's how I got most of my following is from YouTube.
Oh, wow.
So I would I would document my transition. I would also do a lot of cover songs, and this was like no mic set up. This was just like through the computer mic, just like playing live, and people were into it. And then I would post like songs that I hadn't recorded yet, like just playing it live, and that those a lot of those like went pretty far. And then I would also do like self-made music videos when I was like a teenager
Mm-hmm.
with like my friends would help me, and there'd be like super shaky
Yeah.
cameras and all of that, but
Yeah.
and super low budget, and like people would like hate comment like get a tripod like and I'm like, yo, I'm like 14, I can't afford a tripod.
Right,
Like
right.
so yeah, so it started on YouTube really, and I think like because I grew up with it, it made it easier now. But it's interesting because the last like 2 months I've barely posted on social media compared to what I've posted. Like sometimes like it'll be like 10 days and I just like haven't posted anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been like lately I've just been like feeling more inward,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't really like know exactly what to share. I'm like, am I supposed to like post a reel of my music? Like, what am I supposed to be doing? So it all still feels so confusing.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's interesting because, yeah, like I know a lot of us feel that with Instagram
Yeah.
and how confusing it is. We don't know what we should be doing, and so it's in a way refreshing to hear you say that because you have a huge following, but you still have that. Like I don't
Yeah.
know what necessarily I should be doing. Are there any other things that you say or you would say that helped you get there, or things or tips like things that you do now to help maintain that social media following?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think just continuing to be like super authentic on there is what really helps. And also like there's been a few times like in the past year where I've posted something political,
Mm,
and when I do that, every time I do that, and like I feel called to do it, like I'm like I need to like inform people,
mhm,
let them know what's going on. And every time I do that, I get like super hated for it by
mm,
like a lot of people, and I drop followers.
hmm.
So that's like hundreds of people will unfollow me in a day.
Wow.
So that's happened like a few times in the past year, but it's like, well, then those people like, they weren't supposed to be on my page anyway, because
Yeah.
like our values are not aligning,
Hmm.
So it's like,
Hmm.
I don't think like the followers really matter that much. Like the number doesn't matter that much. I mean, I know people that have like like as many followers as I have on Instagram, but then their music, only has like 30 listeners. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
I think the social media profiles don't matter as much as like promoting the actual music as a musician and your shows. I think like getting people out to shows is like probably the hardest thing we do as musicians, and I think it's the most valuable thing we do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, what do you think has helped you get people out to shows?
Getting people out to shows, I think it has to be like like, okay, why do we go to shows? You know, like that's what you got to think about. Like we go to shows, like I go to shows because I love music, but it's like something, it feels like it takes over me and I get to like escape my life, right? When I go to a show and I just get to fully be immersed in someone else's music and their story. And that's like one big reason why people go to shows. The other one is to be part of the community that is built around the artist. And I think that is one of the most valuable things that we have. And I think that's like the main focus of my shows is like, how am I going to make this show so that I can have the biggest community possible? How do I get the audience to like not just come to the show but interact with each other? So a lot of it is about for me, like when I go on tour, like inviting different groups out, like different LGBT organizations or different local schools that are around, and getting like all those people to come and join together. And then after they leave that show, hopefully they've made connections. Because if I'm in another city or whatever, like hopefully they've now have some new friends, you know, and have built some community. And it's interesting because my shows look like in LA, my shows are like, it feels like mostly my friends are there, you know?
Right.
But when I go on tour, it's mostly strangers. But when I keep like going to a city once or twice a year, like I start to build friendships. So staying in touch with people is very important too. And also like staying a part of the community even as far away. So it's like, in a way, it's like managing all of these like long distance relationships, which I mean has been super fulfilling for me. I've made friends all over the country that I love and get to just like have all these friendships, you know, and it just feels, it feels super fulfilling.
Yeah, I've thought about that too in terms of your social media. I feel like that's what you do a good job of, is kind of creating a community on social media. So it's interesting to hear you talk about that and carrying that into the shows as well. And I think that was super cool what you said about inviting people out from different groups, inviting people, you know, or students, things like that. I thought that was really cool. Are there any other things that you would say help build that community, maybe especially going out on the road? Because I feel like, you know, going out on the road, as you said, they're strangers. We don't know anybody. So I think that's daunting for a lot of artists to step out into these other cities where we don't know anybody, and being able to create that community is key, I think, and that's cool. So do you have any other kind of advice around that?
Yeah, a lot of my live shows, like when I'm on tour, I try to invite people to come up on stage with me. Like, I usually pick a song that like the chorus is simple, right? And then you can invite anyone, whether they know the song or not. And usually those people that come on stage, like they'll be like, maybe like 5 people will be like brave enough to do it because it is like scary for people. But those people usually end up connecting with each other and becoming friends. So I think that that's super valuable. And I try to just do things at my shows to keep the audience engaged. Like I'll throw out T-shirts and stuff like that. That's been like a great way to make a crowd that's like all scattered, like at a festival, like they're standing all different places. You're like, all right, I have one T-shirt, I'm gonna throw out 3 this whole show at different times. People all come up front, you know. So there's ways to get people to like come up, and then once people are like in that group, that's like where like the power of music could actually like hit them, you know. And there's something like very healing about singing in a group together, you know. And I think it's one of like the most healing things, and I think that's like why most churches around the world, like part of their worship service is singing. You know, like there's something super beneficial to humanity from doing group singing. And like as musicians, we can do that and make the show church, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's super dope. I love that. Make the show church. I'm gonna remember that. That's like that's a bar right there. Make the show church. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you said you started on YouTube and you have millions of YouTube views. Anything there? Like, I mean, you talked a little bit about it, how you started on YouTube, but anything or any tips there in terms of, getting your YouTube views up?
Yeah, for YouTube, it was really about being like one of the only people to I like at the time there was not trans YouTubers. Like there was like less than 10. So I was like in this like first group of people, so it like people are watching, and then so I got an initial following from that, and then I collaborated with several other YouTubers, mostly gay men actually had me on their channels, and that lifted up my following a lot too. So doing those collaborations where you're like, okay, like you're gonna come on my channel and I'm gonna go on your channel. We're gonna do 2 different videos and we're gonna post them at the same time and direct people to each other's channel. So that was a huge thing, like probably like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But that helped so much. And so I would like do one of those videos, and then next video I knew like, all right, I'm gonna post a music video next because I have this new following. Now I post a music video, and like hopefully like half of those people are gonna see it because they just subscribed, you know.
I think a lot of artists definitely underestimate the power of collaboration. And sometimes I think we think about it in terms of the songs themselves. So I'm gonna have this artist on my song or whatever, and some artists are good about doing that. But I think in terms of social media, I feel like it's something we can forget about, or YouTube. I feel like that's something we can forget about. Would you agree?
I think, yeah, definitely. I think also there's like, especially in LA, there's like a competitive vibe that happens. So it makes people like, oh, you're in the same genre as me. Like, I got to stay away from you. When really, like, no, y'all should be friends. Y'all should be making music together, because then, like, both your followings, like, go up because of each other. And I don't think that we should have this scarcity mindset of, like, only one person could do it. Like, the way I feel, like, even just with, like, the writer's room people, which is, like, my main music scene here, is, like, that's who I talk to and connect with and stuff. Like one of us does something great, like all of us are doing something great. Like we all need to like grow together, I feel that a lot with like writers room musicians, where there isn't like that competitive vibe. But I've been to some like other music events in LA where it really feels like, oh, like don't talk to this person, and like it just feels like touchy like that,
Yeah, no, I think that's actually very key. Is not having that scarcity mindset, like you talked about, and not being afraid to collaborate, and not being worried about, oh well, they're gonna eat into my following somehow or something like that. Whereas like, no, we can like help each other get bigger and better, and keep it going that way. So like I totally agree with you on that one. You had opportunity to be in a film as well.
Oh yeah. We filmed in 2019, and then like COVID delayed everything. And I play music in the film, so that's cool. But I play a trans teenager in Nebraska. So that was definitely like one of the most interesting experiences of my life for sure, but also super fulfilling.
Nice.
Yeah.
How did that all come about?
I started, so when I moved to LA, so I actually moved to LA because I got offered this like really big producer deal. And I move out here, and this is like with one of Lady Gaga's old producers. So they offer me like this incredible deal. I come out here, so I sign the contract, come out here, and I'm here for like a month, haven't heard from them, and they like call a meeting, and they're like, I don't think the world is ready for a trans artist yet.
Wow.
And they handed me back my contract. And I was super depressed from it. And I was like, man, like, I want to just like do more stuff. I started looking around for like music agents and stuff. And then I actually like found acting agents. And I was like, all right, I mean, I might as well pursue this. Like, it's fun. It's a performance as well. It's part of what I really love about music is performing it. So that's kind of just how like all that came about. And with that movie specifically, the director Travis Fine actually found me on I think he found me on YouTube or Google or something. He was like searching for a specific person to play this role, and I happened to fit. So I didn't audition or anything. He wrote me a letter asking if I would read the script and accept the role. It was super magical. The movie's called Two Eyes.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah.
I think one key is when you had the devastating event of, you know, having that contract handed back to you. I think a lot of people might just shut it down and you know, go back to wherever they, you know, where did you move from?
I was in New York for
York, okay.
9 months. That's where I'm from.
Okay.
But before that, I was in San Francisco.
Okay.
And I left the West Coast,
Okay.
which was actually like probably one of the worst decisions I ever made in my life. Like to go back to New York.
Okay.
I regret it still.
Really?
But that contract like got me back out here, you know? Like even though it was like a bad contract and whatever, like it got me back here.
Which everything happens for a reason. I totally believe that. And as I was saying before, a lot of people would have gone back to New York or gone back wherever when the contract got tossed back.
Yeah.
But you kept going, and then that the movie thing happened, and then now you're here. So I think
right after that contract was given back to me, like a year later, I wrote Daughter, which is my most popular song, and so I write that song, and I actually sent it to another record deal that I was offered, and they told me that the song wasn't good, and nah, we're not doing it. And I was like, all right. So I recorded that song in a garage for like $50.
Wow.
And it just took off. And I mean, I wrote that song in like less than 10 minutes, you know, recorded it in a day. And like, I had no idea that it would amount to anything, you know, and that like one song that took me 10 minutes to write has now like, it's gotten me so many opportunities, like all over the country. And
I just want to say for people real quick, Daughter, 3.4 million Spotify streams, at least as of right now when I looked. 2.4 million YouTube views for the video. So this is the kind of like thing we're talking about here. So what kind of opportunities have come from that?
Yeah, like getting to tour. I mean, right after that song came out, I went on tour. And I go to the Bay Area and I'm playing a show in Oakland. I've never played in Oakland before. I know one person. They tell me, like, my friend, they're like, yeah, I'm coming to the show. I'm like, no one's coming to the show. And I get there. It was like at this cafe that doesn't exist anymore. And it was like 80 capacity, not like huge, but I get there and they were like, the show is sold out. And I was like, no way. Like, I couldn't believe it. And then that was the first time when I played a song, everyone was singing it there.
Wow.
And I was just like, what is happening? And in a way, it like freaked me out. I get on that same tour, I get to Salt Lake City where I also don't know anyone. And it's packed. And I'm starting to get like nervous. I went like in the bathroom and called my mom. I was like, Mom, all these people are here to see me. And she was like, yeah, like that's what you do, you play shows, like and I was like, no, it's weird, like some of them like have the same hairstyle as me, like have the glasses and stuff. I was like freaked out, you know. But like I was so flattered and grateful. But it was little shows, you know, but those shows built a lot of community. And I tried to do like as many like free shows and all ages shows as I possibly can. So like that like younger trans people and queer people could come and their families and stuff. Like that's like something super important to me. But yeah, so like that song led to all that. It led to me like playing at a lot of colleges, a lot of festivals, pride festivals, other types of festivals, South by Southwest, and then eventually, that song led me to my name being known more. And but this was a slow build. Like the song like popped off in the beginning, and it like popped off. I mean, like maybe in the first week it got like 10,000 streams.
Okay.
Which isn't that much, right? But it was like it just started like snowballing. But that took years, you know, like over 5 years.
Oh wow.
But more and more people are like finding out about it. I still get like letters about it and emails.
Wow.
But so when we played San Francisco Pride in 2022, I played with my band. A label came to scout us, and they were a smaller label, but it made that dream come alive for me again that I had lost when I moved here in 2016. And I was like, oh wait, maybe like I am good enough to get signed. And I kind of like stopped believing in myself for a while. And they started to negotiate a deal with me, and my husband Steph was like, well, why don't you reach out to like a bigger label that you really like and just you might as well just try, you know? So at this point I'm like, all right, I could try, you know, like probably nothing will happen, but like why not? So I decided to send just an Instagram DM, super like casual, to Kill Rock Stars, and I said something like, what's the do you have a submission page or something, like something basic, one sentence.
Wow.
And a few days later, the owner of the label called me. They already knew my music.
Wow.
And I got offered a deal like very quickly. So my first album for that deal will come out this year. Yeah.
Wow. Awesome.
Slow process, but
Yeah. So
yeah.
okay, I'm curious about. Let's go back to Daughter. You do that song. Is it a situation where you pushed it really hard and then it kind of started to pop off, or was it more of like an organic, just kind of build, or kind of how did that go?
Yeah, so that's part of it was organic, but part of it was because of 2 or 3 years prior to that, I went viral on YouTube and on the news because American Idol approached me, and they it was like one of the worst phone calls. But I called them out on YouTube for this phone call where like this casting agent was like saying super racist stuff, super transphobic stuff, homophobic stuff. Like it was like bad, and I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna like sacrifice my values and my morals to go on American Idol. Like, and I made a video, and it was like about how American Idol is not punk rock because it's not authentic, so I'm not doing it. And that went viral. And it wasn't like the video that went viral, but it was the story. So from there, the Guardian paper picked it up. They interviewed me, and then it was quiet for like 2 days, and then on Monday, like everyone was calling me Billboard.
Wow.
It was on like those like celebrity TV shows where they talk about things like that. It was like on everything. And I was smart, and I wrote a thank you to every single person that like interviewed me.
Wow.
And I took down their names and their emails, and I saved them. So when Daughter came out, or was about to come out like 2 months prior, I emailed all those people the music video and my story, and a lot of them picked it up, like Huffington Post and Billboard.
Wow.
And those were the two like major ones that covered it, and that's how it like got out there. That like initial viral how would you say that? I don't know.
Virality? I don't know.
Yeah, virality. It's a weird word.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very cool. So, I mean, I think there's a few things. Number one is how you, and you talked about a little bit about this earlier in terms of like keeping in touch with people and keeping that connection. So, like, I think that was very cool that you got the emails and thanked everybody for that initial interview.
Yeah.
And then so that you could turn around when you had something else to promote. You could shoot that to them and say, hey, here's, what I got going on right now. So I think that was awesome.
Yeah, when I was a teenager, I remember this this band, the Blue Meanies. They're a pretty big ska band, ska punk. The lead singer told me that the music industry, it's not about how talented you are, it's about who you know. And that's like, that hit me hard. And I was like, I remembered that. And I, and I still like think that all the time when I'm doing music stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it definitely is about, making the connections, and you never know. And that's why, I mean, places like Writers Round are so like important to go and, check those places out. And I mean, other things too, Writers Round's not the only one, but like other things like that where you can go and build some community, and you have people that are like-minded and that are kind of have, you have common goals, and you can all kind of vibe and relate to each other.
Yeah,
in a way.
it's good.
And bounce things off of each other, try new stuff and things like that.
Yeah.
So, how has that kind of helped you, like those types of things?
Open mics is like a lot of how I came up to. On Long Island, I used to go, when I was a teenager, I used to go to open mic almost every day of the week. And I became a regular at all those places, connected all those musicians. And then when I moved to San Francisco, I did the same thing. Like, I went to open mic 2 days a week and connected with all those people. Some of them I'm still in touch with, like, from like over a decade ago. And like that, like those open mics like on Long Island, that's like how I got a following there and was able to start doing shows, because Long Island's music scene's pretty hard to break into. You have to, it's like a lot of pay to play. Like, you got to sell tickets, and like if you don't sell 25 tickets, you don't get to play, and then you got to buy your own tickets if you don't sell them.
Right.
So it was like this whole like mountain to climb, but the open mics helped a lot. Like, it's just a supportive community, and you get to make friends that they're just doing the same thing as you, like you're trying to all pursue music, and like that's dope that we have a space to meet each other. Yeah,
absolutely. You were on a billboard too, right?
Yeah, a few times.
Yeah.
The billboard. Oh, that one in the. Yeah. I saw that. I didn't know that was happening.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't know it was happening?
No, my friend texted me and was like, "Hey, you're on a billboard in It was like near Park La Brea.
Yeah.
That was crazy. I had no idea.
Wow.
It was like 4 years ago. This company on this casting website was like, we'll pay you $500 if we could take headshots of you, and you get to keep the headshots too and use them. And they'll be used for like some health company. I was like, all right, that's fine. It's just like, a low budget modeling gig, and I was like, I need $500, so I'm gonna do it. And then like 4 years later, it's like on buses and billboards. They didn't tell me anything.
Wow.
Yeah, I've never talked to them again. It's so weird.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's weird. I was wondering how that came about, but it's
random.
kind of funny that it's but I mean, it does kind of go to show. I mean, I think that in general, you never know what's gonna come from something.
Something that you did so long ago.
Yeah.
That's been everything I've done.
And I've heard those stories with people with songs. Maybe they submitted something for sync years ago, and nothing happened, and then maybe years later they get some kind of big check from it or something like that. So you really just never know what's gonna pop off. So it's like you just got to keep throwing things out there. I remember watching a speech with Will Ferrell, and he was doing it was a graduation commencement, and he was just saying that basically a lot of people he knew had quit, fell off or whatever, but he just kept throwing darts at the dartboard is what he said. Just keep throwing darts at the dartboard. And if you keep throwing darts, eventually you're gonna hit something. Even the person with the worst aim in the world, eventually if you throw enough fucking darts, you're gonna hit something.
And that's the thing too. Like, you don't know what is gonna hit, right? So it's like, make as much music as you can and want, and like don't like box yourself into a genre. Just like do whatever you're feeling, and do it because you love it more than anything.
Yep.
Because you don't know what song is gonna pop off. You know,
Yep.
like if I knew "Daughter" was gonna be the song that I'm gonna have to play at every single show I play for the rest of my life, like, I would have made it a little more complicated, because I'm like bored, you know? I didn't even put a bridge in it. Like, I'm just like bored with it.
Yeah.
But that's what happens.
Yeah. I was also going to ask you about, speaking of Daughter, it has a ton of streams on Spotify, millions of streams. Was there any specific Spotify strategy that you used, or it was just more kind of organic growth? Were you more focused on the shows and then people from the shows went and listened, or kind of how did that go?
With Spotify, so that song's never been on any official Spotify playlist. I've never paid for any campaign or anything for it. It's on like a lot of playlists. I don't know how many, but they're all user playlists.
Right.
And those user playlists is like how I get most of my streams, and then that, like, the more user playlists you get on, then you start getting on like radio, Discovery Weekly. I think it got on Discovery Weekly like 2 years after it was released.
Wow.
And that was bringing in like at least like 1,000 streams a day at one point.
Wow.
Just from Discover Weekly or whatever it's called. Yeah. So user playlist helps a lot, and there's been like playlists that I've made that have gotten a lot of people. Like, I had one playlist I made get like 7,000 followers.
Wow.
So like that helped when I would put my songs on it, and like all that stuff just, it comes and goes. Like that playlist like popped off for like 2 years, and now it gets like 5 plays a month. Yeah. Like that it just happens. Yeah. It's all like so unpredictable. Yeah. And Spotify is like, I still don't get it, you know? Yeah.
Was there something that you did for that one playlist you made that was getting 7,000 plays or whatever? Was there something you did specifically with that to make it pop off?
No, I mean, I just promoted it to my fans, you know? Eventually, like, I tried to do like promoting Spotify playlists with Facebook ads, but like that really didn't make any dent, really. You know?
Yeah, I actually just started trying to play with that myself.
Yeah, it's hard.
It is hard.
Yeah.
And I even had some campaigns, or I had some videos or whatever that had a very low cost per click. So I had some that had 5 and 6 cents a click, so which is really good.
Yeah.
But they still didn't translate into, you know, followers on the playlist. So, you know, it's just it's a lot to try to figure out.
I know, it's so hard.
It is very hard. So it just kind of organically happened, just throwing it out to your people.
That song like mostly just got shared among people, you know. People would share it with their friend or show it to their parents, that sort of thing, you know.
Got it. Yeah, you can't underestimate the power of word of mouth. You know, if you can get, and it's kind of like you were talking about earlier with just getting that community. If you get people in community and people are excited about something, and having them sing along too, and then they're all together singing along and they're all excited about it, then I think that gives them more energy and more excitement to want to go back and listen to it when they get in the car.
That's true.
Put it on their Spotify while they're on their ride home, whatever. Show it to their friends like, yo, I heard this song. You got to check it out. Yeah. That type of thing.
It's true. That same guy from when I was a teenager, Bill, he also told me, like, whatever song you play last in your set, like, make it be your catchiest song, and do the chorus a few times at the end, because that's gonna be the last thing people hear, and they're walking out and it's like still playing in their head, you know, and then they're gonna want to listen to it.
Yeah. No, I've heard something similar, and I definitely. Some people say your first song and your last song, like you want those to be like the most memorable songs, but definitely. I can definitely see the benefit of having your last song be your catchiest song, and then, you know, people walk away singing it. Like that's huge. Are there any resources, whether it be courses or books or videos, YouTube channels, anything like that you would say helped you get good at this shit?
Yeah, I've watched some like random YouTube videos and stuff. I think like connecting with ASCAP helped a lot. I don't know if you're with like ASCAP
Yeah.
or BMI.
Yeah, I'm
ASCAP,
ASCAP.
yeah,
Yeah.
ASCAP is like is just dope. Like they have so many opportunities and to learn from other people. Like I've done a few of their classes where you get it's kind of like a contest. Like I've done like a songwriting contest, but you get paired with people, and then they have classes throughout it, and those are all like free, you know. And there's been like groups I've gone to from ASCAP too, so like getting involved with that type of stuff is huge. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's another thing that maybe we don't often think about is, like, I know I'm a part of ASCAP, but I don't necessarily participate in. I don't even know what ASCAP has going on other than I register my songs, with ASCAP when I put out a new song, and that's pretty much the extent of. I did go to. I know they have an ASCAP like conference or a expo type thing. I did go to that a few years ago, but other than that, I haven't really done much with it. So that's interesting to hear that they have these other things that maybe people should be looking to check out, and especially if they're free, you can just get involved and network
great.
and totally.
You learn from each other and everything. It's good.
Yeah. All right. Any other tips or final thoughts for musicians out there?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like when I've been happiest playing music, because like I've done the gigs where you're like, oh, hey, we'll give you $300 to play at this cafe while everyone's eating and talking. Like that's like the worst. Like I hate doing that shit. Like I'd rather play to like 5 people that really are listening, you know, because that's what I want to do. Like I love to connect with the audience. So it's like as a musician, figure out like what drives you to do it. Like what are you passionate about, and do that as much as you can, because like when it comes down to it, like all of the other stuff doesn't really matter that much. Like if you get a bunch of streams on a song that like your heart's not in, it doesn't matter that much, you know? Like do the music that moves you and fulfills your purpose.
That's a great place to leave it. Ryan Cassata, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Broadway, the host. If you got something out of the episode, definitely go ahead and hit the like button. Also, subscribe and turn on the notifications so you can get notified whenever we drop new episodes. If there was something specific that you learned or found interesting, put that in the comments. Also, if there was something that you thought you were going to learn more about, wanted to hear more about, and you didn't, put that in the comments as well. We can use that to make these episodes better going forward. Thank you again for checking out They're Good at That Shit.